What is going on, guys? My name is Halvy.
I'm Harrison.
And today we are bringing you a deep chat commentary, not a Q&A, just a deep chat, just us rambling, which I haven't done a deep chat in quite a while. And so I'm stoked to be able to have Harrison here so we can do a deep chat. And the topic of this deep chat is all the things concerning homosexuality, sexuality in general, transgender movement, and how all of those things interact and correlate with society. And that is something that, as I realize now, could be talked about for like 7 hours.
Yeah.
I felt that it was important, and that's one of the things too that Harrison and I have talked quite a bit in terms of like, you know, I've just randomly asked him. I think one of the things, the most recent thing is like, would I be a good gay person? It was, I think, the last thing I said to him, and he's just like, no, you give me way too straight of a vibe. So I'm like, all right, cool. I guess that's a good thing. But, so yeah, I just thought it would be cool to have him on here to kind of talk about a subject that I don't really have authority whatsoever to talk about because I just don't know what it's like. But so that you guys can get, you know, those of you who maybe don't understand or as much about it can hear from someone who is gay and is just a normal dude, you know, like, and that's just, well, he's not a normal dude, he's actually very abnormal, but it's not him being gay. Yeah, that's not what makes him weird. Yeah, I don't know, why don't you go ahead and just like take it over a little bit, just tell them a little bit about yourself and like how you feel about things like this.
Okay. Hi, I'm Harrison, and I'm gay. Well, the first thing I want to say is that my experience is not, like, does not say, it's not, you know, everyone's experience.
Yes.
I don't speak for the entire gay community, I speak for me. I, myself, have not really engaged with the gay community as much until really recently, because it's sort of, like, I never thought of it as, like, you know, my community. It's sort of like just something that happened to me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm now, which is sort of what happens, I think, for a lot of gay people when they first come into it. They're kind of opened up to this whole, like, different world, and they're like, I have no idea what this means, and blah, blah, blah. What hits home to me about it that's really interesting is just that you don't know it about yourself for a really long time.
Okay. And
that you're taught to not be that way.
Right.
So, like, it would be like if you were, like, I don't know, like a black person and you were, like, raised to be white and, like, everyone told you were white and, like, everyone, like,
yeah.
all these things. And then, like,
that'd be weird.
Yeah, and then you, like, finally start noticing it, like, out of the corner of your eye when you look in mirrors and you're like, oh, wait, like,
I'm not the same. Why am I so different than this, my brother or my friend or whatever?
And then you, like, tell your parents and they're like, no, you're not. Or, like, or they're, like, upset, or, like, you know.
So to you in your mind, or in, you know, in that kind of world, it is that cut and dry. It is, you are so, like, blatant, like, you're very obviously gay, but you just didn't, you were told so much that you weren't.
Yeah, I mean, because it's, see, and that's why it's funny to me anytime anyone tells me it's a choice. Yeah. Because, you know, I mean, and, like, you know, I know there's varying opinions on nurture, nature, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care, to be honest. All I know is that it wasn't a choice for me, and it's not a choice for people. Because if it was a choice, I wouldn't have chosen it.
Yeah, like, yeah, right. I guess that's the thing, is people who say that it's a choice, I'm so often, because, okay, Ben Carson, that's one of the things, when he said this on his campaign trail, I was just like, oh, come on, dude. Because Ben Carson, for those of you who don't know or follow politics at all, he visited our campus. Did you see him at the
yeah.
He visited our college for like a speech that he gave or a talk or whatever, and he's like a big SDA guy, which is what our college is, Seventh-day Adventist. Not that that's what we are necessarily, but and so he, you know, was a very proud thing, like, oh my gosh, this dude is running for president, all this stuff. But then he started saying things like, oh, I firmly believe that being gay is a choice, and it is firmly against God's will for people to be gay, and all of this stuff, and I found that to be kind of, I mean, almost appalling that he was saying, and the reason that he used was, well, it's obviously a choice, and here's why I know it. It's because you see straight men go into prisons and they come out gay. First of all, they're in prison, so not a good example.
Yeah.
Because they've already got some issues.
Yeah.
Second of all is, if you think about it, like, it's, when you're in prison, I've never been in, so I can't, you know, completely relate, but I would imagine it's a very different experience. And when you're in prison, you're a bad dude or whatever kind of hard prison it is, and you want sexual release of some kind, it's not so much about being gay, it's about having an orifice to
That's so much more a mental thing. That's like nothing to do with...
It's not about sexual orientation, it's about like primal...
That has nothing to do with your sexual identity or your identity as, you know, like, because that's the other thing, is like people try to reduce it to the sexual thing, and it's really not. Like, you know, I mean, the gay community tends to be kind of sexualized, but you know, the real people, like, you know, what people really want, you know, is that they really want a connection with someone. They really want someone
as
to
all people do. Who doesn't want a connection with someone? And some people connect better with other people. Yeah. You know?
And you know, unless you are gay, I guess, you don't understand, like, how inherent it is with you,
right.
or how inherent it is for someone who is gay, because it's just something you can't. You try really hard.
It's sad to me, because I guess I have never been someone who's been, I mean, even remembering as a kid, I always thought it was weird.
Yeah.
I was like, why do they, yeah, like, why do you like, I can't, I guess, and personally, even now, I can't fathom it. I can't, but then what I think about for gay people is like, okay, but that's probably the exact same way for them as it is for me, is that you probably can't even comprehend being sexually attracted to, like, you know, females or something in that way, or whatever. And so it's an interesting thing, is that I'm just like, man, it seems weird to discriminate so much when we can't change it. And that's the argument, okay? When people are like, you know, it's totally a choice, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if you want to prove that it's a choice, be gay.
Yeah.
Be gay for a week.
Try it.
Go make out with dudes. Go, you know, do your thing, and go choose to be sexually, not just do it, but be sexually attracted to them and not to females. Do it. Tell me it's a choice after that.
Yeah, and
I can't, you know, because I know I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's, like, really comfortable straight dudes that I've made out with, just, like, you know, for truth or dare or whatever.
Well, and some people are just more comfortable in general. I think sexuality is a very broad thing, though, to be honest.
But it's, like, you know, it doesn't change it. Like, it doesn't change them. It doesn't change it. Like, it has nothing to do with that. And again, if it had been a choice, I wouldn't have chosen it. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, you know, I didn't want it to be like this big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want it, like, it was so much pain. Like, why would I put that much pain on myself? Like, I love myself above all other people.
So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's just, it really is, you have to get into the mindset of, and it's a hard mindset to get in, but you have to get in the mindset of, I didn't choose to be straight.
Right.
That person doesn't choose to be gay.
And that's what I feel. I'm like, and I guess the other thing too is that at the end of the day, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't
see why people care.
Well, it doesn't affect me that you're gay. Like, it's not bothering me. It's not changing my sexual orientation. It's not making me uncomfortable because you're not trying anything on me. Like, and if there's gay guys that are like pushing themselves on me, I'm like, no, I'm not gay. Like, I'm totally good to be your friend, and that's fine. But I'm not sexually attracted to you as a guy, and it is. And so long as you can respect that, then we're totally good.
Yeah.
You know, because it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't hurt anybody.
I feel the same way about women.
Yeah,
women come on to me a lot.
Right, there you go. Well, they like confident
like,
dudes, man. That's just what it is. Exactly.
You're cool. I like your dress. You're pretty.
And I think it's interesting, too, because you told me that, like, you know, I give a very straight vibe. But I've gotten, I mean, there's been at least 4 or 5 different dudes that have you know, hit on me pretty hard.
Yeah,
before.
It's because you look kind of gay.
I've gotten that. I totally have.
But like your vibe is not.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's because
So you said I look kind of gay. Why do I look gay? Or what is it that like, makes me look gay?
I don't know. Like I can't. I mean, the way it was described to me is like, oh, he's like he's kind of twinky. He looks like a twink.
What's a twink?
It's a skinny gay boy who like is kind of cute and stuff.
A skinny
yeah.
So because I'm skinny, I'm gay. Yeah.
It's a body type. Well, no, okay. but like when you see that, it's kind of like a stereotypical thing.
Yeah.
You know, like you see it and you just sort of identify.
No, I get it. No, I totally so I think one of the things too is also style. I think that people aren't used to, like, a lot of the whole, like, you know, when you think of macho manly dude, it's like, you know, jeans and a sweatshirt and or tank top and rip whatever and stuff. And, you know, I like wearing buttoned-up shirts. I like wearing skinnier jeans, like form-fitting things. I like form-fitting. I like the fact that I'm slim.
Which is becoming more of a trend now.
It
like,
is.
You know,
it's the European style, I think.
Oh, yeah. When I went to Europe, I was, like, with my girlfriends or whatever, like, while all walking around, we're, like, looking at all the men. And I'm just like, I can't tell here. There's no way they
so
all
it
look
is
gay.
so it is probably a big thing that is style-oriented.
It is. Well, yeah, because the gay culture, especially in America, has embraced feminine culture because it's, so, you know, because they sort of identify with that whole thing. And so it's kind of more about how you dress and how you present yourself.
Right.
There's particular things, there's even the way you dress can mean certain signals in the gay culture and such like that. So, yeah, I think it's just more of a thing. I think, but I also think that straight guys are getting more into it too. I think straight guys are getting more comfortable with that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that people in general are just getting more comfortable with the fact that style is changing. Yeah. And style is, I mean, well, if you think about it, trend-wise, everybody's accepting a lot more things now.
It's true. It's true. But, you know, we still have the stigma in terms of, like, females can wear guys' clothes and guys can't wear female clothes. Right. That is a thing still.
Right. No, absolutely. No, there's so much on that. I mean, and also think about this. So, like, I'm not going to go too into it, but I've had, like, kind of an experience like this where you know, you have a guy who, say they're at a party or something. There's people at a party, and a guy, you know, goes on to a girl, and you know, starts messing around with her boobs or something, right? That's sexual harassment, and she could be traumatized for life and all of this stuff, and you know, and that's fine. Like I don't think that that's at all okay if, you know, there's no consent. You know, period. Don't do anything at all. Period. But then, if it's a guy that all of a sudden a girl starts messing around with, even if they don't want it, they're just like, oh, whatever. Like, yeah, a girl is doing this to me or whatever, and it's fine. Like, it's you kind of laugh it off. And it's crazy to me that a similar thing is so different. But the thing is that it actually really feels like it is. It really does feel to me like there's a difference between a girl getting moved on by a guy and a guy getting moved on by a girl.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, you have plenty of time to think about it.
You know, yeah. I don't think it's a question that has a good solution.
Right.
To be honest, our society is extremely pro-feminist right now.
Hyper-feminist.
So, and you know, really, to be honest, I don't have an opinion either way. I don't really care that much. I kind of feel like I'm removed from that in a sense. Okay. Because I don't feel that I'm part of the patriarchy or, like, you know, objectifying women or doing all the things that, like, you know. So I mean, I'm there for my female friends, but like, it's not sort of one of those things that I try to focus on a lot because it sort of feels like it's outside of my realm. Right. In terms of that. But I see where you're coming from. I don't know. I think it's just a difficult situation to get your head around, and I don't know what society's going to decide. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that what is acceptable or is not acceptable is largely, and if not mostly, designed by society itself. It's like whatever the majority consensus is, that is what is right or wrong. True. I mean, the majority consensus a while back was that gay people are, you know, they are sinful and not that bad people and all this stuff. But now the consensus is, and rightfully so, that gay people are just people. Yeah. People are just people. It doesn't matter what the heck you are. If you're a human being, you are equal to everyone. One thing I think that we should talk about, though, is like this whole power of the victim mentality. Yes. Because I think that's interesting, and I can speak to that in terms of the gay people. Because it's something that I don't agree with, in terms of I don't like people staying in a place of being a victim for their entire experience. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there are certain things. Part of the fact that being gay does not define me is that it's also not just like my whole experience is being discriminated against. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time for that because I don't really like being a victim. I really dislike being seen as weak or any of those kinds of things. I don't see who would like that. So, no, but it is a thing. Like, you know, people kind of get off on that power, you know. Power tripping. It's sort of like, oh, like, look at me, like, look at how downtrodden I am compared to you and, like, all those people. And I see this, you know, with some gay people I know who are just constantly, it's like every single time it's like all like gay rights, it's all like this is like, you know, I'm being discriminated against for this thing, and I'm like, okay, you don't live in Russia, like where they're killing gays right now. Right. Like you should not be talking, you should just be proud to be an American right now. Like, holy cow. Someone will always have it worse than you, and in the case of that particular minority, like so many other countries have it worse than you, like so many other people in other countries or whatever have it worse than you, like, and you know, I don't know, the place that I'm in right now is pretty accepting by and large. I mean, even though we go to a conservative Christian college, like, it is phenomenal. We have like what is it, is it LGBT? Is that we have a gay straight alliance? Gay straight alliance, is that what it's something? Yeah, we have like a club or a community thing that's all about supporting that, and we have like events and stuff too. And so as an Adventist community, I think that makes me proud about my heritage as an Adventist. You know, culturally and stuff. It's like, you know, I'm so glad that we're progressive enough to become accepting. True. And to, you know what I mean? You know, and I mean, there are things that we can work on in terms of, like, the Gay Straight Alliance is not officially recognized, and there's some things with administration, and I get it. But I also don't like the fact that people feel they need that validation. Right. Like, you should validate yourself. That's what I believe in terms of that thing. You should know that. As a person, you should know, not just hope, not wish, you should know that you are equal to everyone. Yeah. And, like, it's fine, you know, like, particularly when you first come out, or if you're dealing with home situations or whatever. Yeah, go ahead. Like, that you might be in that victim state for a while, but you need to pull yourself out of it. You need to become stronger as a result. Exactly. And so, okay, I want to make sure to remember to, because I won't, so remember to come back to this victim thing. I was curious, though, can you talk a little more onto when you came out and what that was like? Sure. I'm so curious about that. Yeah, that was an interesting ride.
And like between like the difference between your friends and your family and all that stuff.
So all through high school, I was kind of questioning it. There was lots of things going on that were just very troublesome. I remember. See, okay, here's the other weird thing is that everyone asks me, like, when did you first know?
Yeah.
It's impossible to say. Like, a lot of people, and a lot of gay people will tell you that. Like, it's impossible to say because you start realizing lots of things about, like, your childhood that you weren't thinking about.
You look back
before.
and oh, it makes sense now.
And when you're given a heteronormative framework by which to make your life make sense,
right,
you fit everything into that. Like, like I used to watch gay porn, and I would like convince myself that I was still straight. Like, it's, you can do anything to make yourself believe it.
Yeah.
Like it's just you.
Well, but when all that when from the moment you're born, all that you're told is that no, this is what you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you feel because you were told no. This is what I've known since I'm a kid. This is what I am. So all these weird things are just weird, but this is what I am still. I'm so straight, like despite the fact that I'm attracted to dudes.
Yeah. So you kind of make it part of that. So what happened for me was through high school, I had like a really good friend of mine who I started falling in love with. And I was like I couldn't like figure it out, like I was just like, oh no, I'm just like really good friends with them.
Yeah.
But as it got along, it became more and more apparent to me like what was happening.
Yeah.
But like I didn't want to admit it, and I was kind of shutting it out in my mind.
Right.
I was when I was still religious, I was like praying all the time to like get it out, like God help me, like get it out of me. Like I was like crying at night, all this stuff. It was really bad.
Oh, that's so sad to me. Like but that's like, I mean, seriously, if you think about that, like you can kind of, oh yeah, whatever, but it's, I mean, can you imagine? You were a kid, yeah? You were a kid.
I was young. Well, yeah.
In high school or
when in high school is when it really started like
affecting you.
Like like this is really happening.
So think about being a high schooler. And all of the stupid problems that come with being a high schooler in general.
Yeah.
Being self-conscious about, your looks, about your weight, I used to, and that's a video I need to do, is actually, I had really bad acne in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And that was,
Same.
I mean, I would cry myself to sleep,
Aww.
like, because people would make fun of me.
Yeah.
And it was just so hard because it was already something I was so self-conscious about. And so, as just straight people, as socially accepted straight people, like the majority of people, we already have so many things that really affect us on a serious, deep personal level, just as a developing, young adult.
Yeah.
Imagine also having the fact that you feel something inside of you that you are so different than everyone else around you, and you feel like it's wrong, and that you have to get like that's so sad to me,
Yeah,
and I can't even imagine, having to deal with that.
Well, and two, no one was out in my high school. I think there was one person.
Oh yeah, so that makes it much.
Yeah, so and it was like there was no one there. Like like I couldn't. Didn't feel like I could relate to anyone. After high school, other people came out, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know, like it was sort of like this weird awakening thing. But it was, I mean, it was awful. It really was. Like, it's a terrible thing to feel about yourself and to feel, that you're ashamed and all of these things. And like, what if your parents found out? Like, all this stuff, because my parents are religious and, conservative.
Are they SDA?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when so there was kind of that whole thing happening. And I did end up becoming an atheist my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And I told one friend of mine. The first person I told was a female friend of mine who I was really, really close with. I told her senior year, I think, like towards the very end. And I only said that I was like thinking about it. Like I was like, oh, I think
I'm interested.
I think I might like be bi. It was like the kind of thing that I was doing.
Well, because I remember, I think too, even in college a little bit, you were when we first started kind of talking or discussing with the art world, you were kind of saying like, you were kind of making it out like you were kind of bi-curious.
Yeah.
In a sense, like or kind of like it wasn't that you were straight gay, it was that you were a little bit of both or something.
Yeah.
Was that still like an intermediary stage or?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I don't think that bisexuality is not legitimate, but I do think that a lot of people go through a bisexual phase.
Sure.
Or like, it's like, it's not necessarily like, I think it's really rare to be actually absolutely in the middle bisexual. But that's kind of just part of discovering yourself and discovering your sexuality. But really, that wasn't the point. The point to me, the thing that I was ashamed of was liking guys. It really had nothing to do with like, like bi, gay. Like it wouldn't have mattered either way. It was still something that was really like, painful to try to deal with. When I came to college, for some reason, I felt like pretty good about sharing that part of myself, like because I had a new group of friends, so I kind of felt like I could start over.
Yeah, right.
So I came out to my group of friends freshman year, and then I came out to my parents.
So what's the difference between your parents and your friends and their reactions, and like how, you know, how did they accept you? Did they reject you? What was that like? Yeah,
so my friends were very accepting because you know they're kind of part of this new generation where like,
everybody's trying to be accepting.
Like, oh, yeah, like you know it's all cool, like whatever. And that was pretty easy coming out to them in particular. Mm-hmm. My first friend I came out to, that was difficult. So here's the finish of the story. So the guy that I liked, or like I really fell in love with him, like throughout high school. Then we left, you know, senior year or whatever. And we were like pretty close, or I don't know. He wasn't like I don't know. We had a weird friendship. But anyway, freshman year of college, he messaged me. This is already after I had come out to that group of friends.
Okay.
Did
he know yet?
No.
Okay.
He messaged me and he was like, "I have something to tell you," and I was like, "What?" And then he came out to me.
What?
Yeah.
And you had no idea?
No.
So he didn't. Because that's the other thing too that I'm curious about is like, why do some gay people develop that very gay, feminine, like you know the stereotypical gay? You know, you're talking like this, and you know all that's whatever, and stuff. You have the lisp and the very flimsy hands is what I call them.
Yeah.
Whereas you know you don't really sound gay. You don't.
Yeah.
You know. So how is that? And then there's some people who just legitimately would never guess that they're gay.
Yeah.
So what is it that causes that?
That tends to be the studies that have been done on that tend to say that it's because of code switching in terms of like feminine culture.
Switching. Okay.
So the effeminate gays tend to be people who have more female friends or have kind of grown up embracing the feminine
side,
and you know they feel sort of disconnected from men and like all those kinds of things. I always had guy friends.
Okay.
I like that girlfriend that I told was like the first, I think like one of the first female friends I had. Like
interesting.
I always had guy friends. So I think it was just more.
And you've told me before too that you just feel like you relate more with the guys.
Yeah.
As well. So I mean it makes sense.
Yeah. In recent years I've been kind of having more friends that are girls. But I definitely like I don't feel weird around guys. Like I feel just like some of my best friends are still guys, so
yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's just, and I think that's the thing is that once you personally accept it, and then once your friend group around you and the people around you can accept it, then it's like, well, then there's nothing weird anymore.
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, you're gay, I'm straight, cool.
Yeah,
you're blonde haired, I'm brown haired.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not. I don't know. I don't really see why there's ever any issues.
So he came out to me, and then I like kind of lost it. I like had this like panic attack. I was in the dorm. I was like, all right, shaking. And so then I told him, and I like confessed that I was in love with him, and he was like, "Oh, that's great. Like I don't feel the same way."
Oh man.
Which was like really awful.
Wait, so he comes out as gay, and then it's like, "Yes, I'm gay, but I don't like you."
Yeah, but like he wasn't into me because he thought, you know, he felt like we were friends.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Which is another thing. Like gay people are just like any other people in terms of that whole interaction.
Yep.
Just because you're
friend
gay doesn't mean you're gonna like every gay person.
Yeah.
Like it's all blah blah blah. So
I feel like that's a very common thing that people think of too. It's like, oh, you're gay and you're gay. Oh, you guys must hook up. Like what?
No.
You're a guy and you're a girl. You guys should totally hook up.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah. So there was that whole thing, which was really hard. I ended up having my whole freshman year. I was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. I was terribly depressed as a result. I was crying every day. I cut myself off from that person too, just because it wasn't.
Did he go to school here
for me? No.
Okay, good.
No. And it was really good, and he appreciated it too because he didn't want that hanging over him. He didn't want to be like a bad person or whatever. Yeah. So that was good. But anyway, as a result, that was just kind of like a really hard thing to deal with, just in terms of that, which really goes to show you the whole like it's not like a sexual thing too,
right?
Because that was just like my heart hurt, for like a year.
Which who can? I mean, and that is something that transcends sexuality. It's your heart and love.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be heartbroken over your family. You can be heartbroken over an animal.
Yeah.
You can be heartbroken over a best friend. Like, and that's a universal constant. It's just love itself, you know. And so I guess that's what I hate so much about people who oppress like sexuality and sexual preference, because it's like you are condemning and insulting and hurting people who are just trying to love people.
Yeah.
Why would you want to stop that? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's about love, and if you can find love with a dude and the dude that loves you back in the same way, why not?
Yeah.
Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
It blows my mind. Now here's the thing, is that, and I want you to finish your story too, but one of the things that I've thought of as well is that I personally don't think that we were, because I do consider myself a Christian, albeit a very open-minded one. I grew up SDA, most of you know, but I consider myself more of a Christian now, non-denominational. I don't want to restrict myself in any way to any sort of viewpoint or stance, because I feel like there's no way to even comprehend what the reality of the situation is.
Yeah.
So we're all really right in our own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't personally believe that, I mean, just biologically, it seems as if, you know, gay, homosexuality or whatever, it doesn't make sense biologically because that doesn't produce life, right? And so I don't think that it's necessarily, I mean, I'm not saying it's like a problem or a mental condition or anything, but I don't think it is necessarily something that was originated as a normal thing. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you know what I mean? So what is your thoughts on that?
You know, it depends. There's quite a few studies on that, and in all different directions and ways. A lot of people cite homosexuality in animals or whatever, and kind of showing that that's natural to them, so it would be natural to humans.
Sure.
There's things, I've heard theories that suggest evolutionarily that if you have a gay person in the family, then that's better for producing offspring, because that you have a nurturing relative in the family.
Right.
So it takes care of the next generation better. I've heard like that kind of thing. I've heard, I mean, and you know, there's also like just biological evidence for it.
Right.
And like the further down you are in the chain of children, the more likely you are to be homosexual.
Yeah, you know, and that's an interesting thing, because it's like, if that is the case, then there is something genetic. Obviously there's something genetic about it, because it's not a choice to you. So
yeah,
it's an interesting thing, because it does directly defy the survival instinct that we have. I mean, evolutionarily, because survival would require a male and a female reproductive organs, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to. It's like and I don't want to come across as being like, oppressive on that. I that's my opinion, is that because scientifically it doesn't make sense. I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, you know,
like science is not perfect. It doesn't, you know, there's
absolutely.
There's nothing that says it just needs to be this way always, because, like, just because, you know, like, this is where I get into this is a whole different debate about like what evolution and natural selection is and all this stuff
or
whatever. But what I want to say about that is that it's like, it doesn't have a mind of its own. It doesn't have a will of its own. It's just something that like happens. You know, it's like machines. Like you're gonna have malfunctions in machines like every once in a while. Like, it's just something that happens. And you know,
it's a quirk.
But we as humans make meaning of all this stuff. You can say that it's like a biological flaw or something to not, you know, be producing or whatever. Yeah. But why does that mean anything else? You know, like, we don't look down on people who are not fertile.
That's a brilliant point. That's a brilliant point.
So,
it's exactly.
It's just what we make it mean. Like, it doesn't matter. So,
and that's the thing, we inherently need. We like have this urge, this utter desire to find meaning in everything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a hurricane. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Is God spiting us? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
And the other thing that I wanted to say about the whole biological thing is, I personally believe it's a mixture of biology and environment. Okay. Like, and learning or whatever. But regardless, it doesn't matter to me. Like, if people think it's completely environmental, that's fine with me. But that still doesn't mean it's a choice. Right. Just because you're you know, in a certain environment that conditions you to be a certain way, it doesn't mean that you chose that. Right. Even if that's true, which I don't believe. But even if that were true, I don't like that as a thing that says, like, well, obviously it's a choice then. Oh, yeah, no. And I wouldn't say at all that it's something that's a choice. I would say it is definitely something, I mean, I will always defend the fact that people are, whatever they feel they are is what they are. That's not what they're choosing. It's just what they are. And so, you know, it's definitely something genetic or biological inherently, whether it's quirk, whether it's, you know, whatever. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting thought to me. I get you. I mean, as an atheist and as someone who... And that's another talk we need to have, is atheism versus Christianity, for sure. As an atheist and, like, believing in natural selection and all these things, I've talked about this with my gay friends before. I'm like, I just feel like I'm not fulfilling the biological imperative. Right. I'm just a failure as a human, aren't I? Gosh. Yeah, but it's just, you know, it is what it is the thing. Back on your thing. Okay, finish my story. So the reason that I told that whole backstory is because it's relevant to when I came out to my parents, because my mom kind of dragged it out of me. Because we were talking, and we were talking about my relationship with this friend that I had the whole thing with, who I fell in love with.
Yeah, your best
like,
friend. Okay.
Yeah. And she was like, why are you, like, upset about this? You know, like, why is this so upsetting to you? I didn't tell her, like, that happened. It was just that we weren't friends anymore. Because I had cut him off.
Yeah.
And so she was like, why is this so upsetting to you? Like, what's, like, the matter? Blah, blah, blah. And she kind of kept pushing it. And I was like, well, like, I don't know. Maybe we just don't have the same, like, maybe I'm not like other guys in terms of, like, you know, my relationships with people. And she's like, what do you mean by that? And, like, you know, she kept, like, asking me leading questions.
And was it leading questions, like, supportive leading questions and curious, or, like, judgmental?
I don't know. You know, the tone that it really struck me as was curious. Like, you know, like, really, like, she just really wanted to know. Because my mom is kind of the kind of person that always wants to have, like, a good connection with me.
Nice, that's good.
All that sort of thing. So I told her, and, you know, I think she was a bit disappointed about it. But she made it clear that she wasn't disappointed in me as a person.
Sure.
It was just that the situation, you know, was not something that
is what they would have wished it to be normally.
Yeah, and that's hard in and of itself.
Of course.
You know, like, your parents tried their best to be there for you, I think, and whatever. And I think to them, they don't realize how, like, hard that whole journey is.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of like, oh, well, you just figured this out, and now you're telling us, and, like, we're not supposed to be upset about it, like, blah, blah. I'm like, I spent my whole life being, like, you know, having to deal with this whole thing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, it's an awful journey, and I understand that it's, like, not something that they were, you know, anticipating and whatever, and that's fine, they have their own journey or whatever. But it can be really difficult in terms of those things, and my parents were by far the most difficult people to tell.
Okay. So your mom was curious. What was your dad like?
Yeah, so my mom was curious. She kind of got it out of me, and then we had, like, a 2-day period where it was, like, really awkward, and we were kind of talking about it on and off, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, like, you know, it
was probably
like,
pretty stressful for you, huh?
Oh, man, it was really scary. It was, like, the scariest thing I've ever done, and, you know, she, like, made it clear to me that she still loved me and stuff, so that was good.
That's good.
But then she was like, well, now you've put me in an awkward position because, like, now I know and your dad doesn't. And I was like,
yeah.
I think you put me in an awkward. I wasn't planning on coming out to you.
Yeah, I know. Don't blame me for this. I was fine keeping it to myself.
Yeah. Then what happened with that is I really casually kind of slipped it to my dad. He asked me.
I'm gay, Dad.
Yeah, well... Yeah, he asked me, because at the time I was still sort of identifying as bi, so he kind of asked me if, like, there was any, like, girls I was interested in up at PUC, and...
Oh, this was very recently.
Oh, this was a few years ago, but, like,
within college?
But, yeah, within college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was freshman or sophomore year.
Okay.
Freshman year. And he was like, are there any, like, girls you're interested in? And I was like, oh, yeah, there's, like one or two, maybe, like, 1 or 2 girls. And then he was like, any guys? And I was like, yeah, a few guys. And that was it. Like, it was, like, a really easy...
Oh, so you were just totally chill?
Yeah, it was just really chill. And then I kind of didn't want to talk about it anymore, because it's, like, sort of, like, something you, like, get out there.
Well, especially with your dad being the same gender as it is, I feel like that makes it almost a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Or I feel like it would be.
Yeah, and, like, my dad was someone I was more worried about.
Yeah.
Because, you know, both my parents, I think just because of the way they were raised and stuff, have always been like, oh, like, we hate, like, gay pride parades, and, like, we're, like, so annoyed by, like, all this stuff. They voted no on gay marriage and everything. So, like, you know, and so that's the other thing is, like, you know, my mom was upset because she was like, why didn't you tell us sooner?
It's conflicted, yeah.
Like, why didn't you, like, why are you keeping this from us? Like, why are you, like, trying to distance yourself? I'm like... You taught me my whole life to be homophobic. Like, what do you expect? Like, do you really expect me to, like, be comfortable, like, telling you all this stuff?
And
like,
how can you... I guess it's just, to me, it's like, how can you even expect to understand? You know, why are you asking those kind of... It's like, you know, you obviously don't even... If you are identifying as gay, and it got to the point where you're in college, and that's when you talk, you know, it's not like you're just, oh, I kind of think I'm gay, whatever. It's, you've been thinking about it for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, you've gone through your high school experience, you know, which is when you're the most... I feel sexually charged, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that is something that, you know, would be a lot more of a topic, and I think that's why for me it's like, people ask me, like, well, what would you do if you're someone? I was like, what do you mean, what would I do? It's like, I don't even need to answer you with the question for that. Like, he'd just be my son, and if he loves girls or if he loves dudes, I'd love his boyfriend or his girlfriend, whichever one comes over, you know? Like, who cares?
That's a good attitude.
It's like, love people. Love is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't care. As long as if he chooses that he hates everybody, I would probably have a problem, but,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and another thing that I want to say, too, is that I really wish that I had come out sooner. Like, if I could
do you think it would have made the transition easier?
It would have, and I would have just started feeling so much more comfortable and, like, more confident about myself if I had.
Right.
Because until that point, like, it was just this secret that, like, I was going to take to the grave, and I, like, could never be myself.
Yeah.
And it's not that myself is, like, a gay person, but if you keep, like, this big element of, like, your expression or your life, like, to yourself, you're really not being yourself in your normal life. Like,
right.
Because there's just something that you know no one knows about you. And I still, you know what's weird too, is that I still feel that way when I go home, and if I go, like, if my parents have me come to church with them or something, I go in there and I'm like, all these people don't know this about me. And if they did...
Because they would naturally assume that you're straight.
Yeah, and they all, like, they're all really nice to me and stuff, but some of them I know are, like, really homophobic, and I'm like...
If they knew,
this would be a completely different experience. Like, you know, it's just...
That's weird.
Like, I feel like I have to be performative in front of them.
Yeah,
and
you're putting on a mask, almost.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, like, you know... This is just, like, something that my parents and I disagree on or whatever, but because they're really religious and because they're part of that conservative community, they're kind of, you know, they're still friends with all those people, and they're still, like, very much in that
It's society, a very big conflict of interest, in a sense.
Yeah, but it's weird anytime I go. It's
so have they over time, it's been several years now then, have they become more accepting and more encouraging?
Yeah, they're working on it. I think it's still going to be a process. It's always a process. They're trying. That's what I appreciate.
Good.
They really are trying.
It's just, but I think, and that's the thing, is that luckily, you know, yours isn't necessarily the greatest situation, because, you know, it would be nice if your parents said, oh yeah, I'm always touched when it's there's people who, you know, they'll see the letters or the stories where it's a gay person who's like, you know, struggling, like, I wanted to come out, so he comes out to his dad and, like, I know you're gonna be mad, blah blah blah, and the dad responds with, like, I've known you were gay since you were, like, 4 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you would love to meet your boyfriend, bring him over anytime. So it's just like, oh man, my heart, it's just so nice, you know, because it's like, that's what it should be.
It is.
That's what it should be.
And, you know, and I was really sad, like, just because, you know, like, I definitely have not had the worst experience with that. You know, there are so many people that I know personally who've had, like, way harder of a time with their parents, and it just, you know, it hurts and, like, all this stuff. And my parents were by and large pretty cool with it. But there is that sort of sense of, like, I actually do have to sit these people down and, like, explain it to them and, like, try to get them to understand. But it's, like, not something that comes naturally to them, and that's still sad.
Yeah.
Like, that still feels like...
The fact that that is something that they have to work through and mentally think about.
Because it's never going to be like if I had brought home a girl. You know? Like, it's never going to be like if I were straight.
Yeah.
Like, their reaction is not going to be that way.
I feel you.
And it's always going to be something that they're going to be complacent with, or that they've adjusted themselves to. It's not something that they just naturally are going to accept. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally do.
So, but it is getting better. Most recently, my mom said that her current dream is to take me and my boyfriend to Disneyland, and, like...
That's so sweet.
As a family, and I think that's cute.
That's awesome. That's so great. So there's one last thing that I wanted to kind of do, which is tailor this towards the audience. If there are, like, any gay people watching the videos, what would you say? So assume, I think pretty sure, like, the majority of my audience is between, like, 12 and, like, 16. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's what the statistics say, at least.
Oh, okay.
So imagine you're in high school, or even just starting college. What advice would you give to someone who is gay, or identifies as gay, or thinks they might be gay, who hasn't come out yet, who is in the process of coming out and dealing with hardships of that, and, you know, and all of that kind of thing? What advice would you give?
Okay, so a lot of the advice that I see people giving is like, you know, like, it's no problem, like, come out when you're ready, like, blah blah blah, and I agree with that to some extent, but I also just know that I wish I had done it so much sooner.
Right.
And I really think that even though it's hard, if you know it's true, it's never going to change. And really, you're just kind of delaying the inevitable. And the further you come, like, the later you come out, like, the worse it's gonna get.
That makes sense.
Honestly. So I say that, like, anytime you have even the morsel of strength to come out is when you should do it. You should do it, I think, as soon as possible. I think because you have a lot to work through. You're going to continue to work through a lot of things. Society today is really accepting,
much different,
by and large.
Much different. I mean, I'm not a gay person, but I would assume that the best thing, like, that I can think of, at least with especially listening to your stories, like, man, the first people you should go to is the people that you know are going to support you no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, get that support, get that basis, so that way at least you can feel, you know, you're not alone. Because I feel like that's the worst part, is that you feel so alone, even when you're talking to your own family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, I'm sure that's not how it is for everybody, but it's just, I feel like that's something that you just want to avoid. You want to have, and I mean, not just with coming out being gay, with in general, with anything that is a hard step that you're having to move forward with, be it a new job, be it a new college, be it, you know, a new member of the family, parents divorcing, a new stepfather. You know, I've gone through a lot of those. I feel like the most important thing with any big change that you're about to go into life is ground yourself first.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not free falling. Make sure you're not, you know, lost in this abyss of, I don't know what's going to happen. Ground yourself with people that you love and who you know will always support you, because then it really just takes off a lot of the pressure, I would feel like.
Yeah. Also, I would say that another good tip is to do it casually. Which is sort of interesting.
Don't make that a big deal.
Yeah, I see a lot of people, you know, like, and in some cases you really can't avoid that. Like, if it's with your parents or whatever, it's going to be probably something that you're going to have to sit down and talk with them about it.
Yeah.
But with my friends or people I, like, just meet, I'm really, because I'm a confident person, I'm just sort of casual about it, and I'm like, I'll, like, mention dudes casually in my conversation if I want to let them know.
So it's kind of like that, wait, what?
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's funny. And
yeah, exactly.
It's nice.
No,
like,
it works out just fine.
Honestly, if you don't make it a big deal, a lot of people won't make it a big deal back.
Especially today.
That's what I found.
Yeah.
And then one more thing I was going to say is for people like you who aren't gay, what I would have responded to so well in terms of my friends is if they could have casually let me know that they were supportive. Or like,
without you telling them?
Yeah. Well, like, if you assume, or if you think that a person that you know is in the closet, you should make it clear to them that you support, like, gay rights and gay things in a casual way. And not in a way, because gay people who are in the closet are very defensive, and they're not going to respond well to you telling them that they're gay.
Oh, right.
Or, like, telling them to come
And
out.
I'm the kind of person, even if someone's, I mean, I was in high school, there was this person asking me about girlfriend advice, and I mean, he had the full gay mannerisms and everything, and everyone's like, oh, he's totally gay and all this stuff, and I'm like, I am not going to assume that, because he has not told me this, and I do not want to assume that somebody is something, and because that just can really hurt people.
Yeah.
You know, and so what would you say for me then is, like, I don't want to hurt people and assume, but I also would love to help them make that transition easier. But how do you do that without, like, overtly saying, like, I know you're gay?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, definitely don't say...
Yes.
Don't tell anyone what their identity is in terms of that. It's just not a good idea. And I would say that just make sure it's a positive thing. Like, in terms of... Because, like, what I would do in that situation is I would probably just, like, talk about my gay friends casually, bring them up, or, like, talk about... Like, find some way to, you know...
Make it not personal to them, but to general...
and make it a positive thing. Make it just something that's, like, you know, that... And, you know, I can't stress this more than anything else. Make it normal. Because that is what they want more than anything else, is they just want to be, you know, normal in terms of that. Like... You know, you don't have to, like, celebrate it. You don't have to, like, be like, oh, like, blah, blah, blah. Just make it normal for them. If you just do that, they'll feel so much more comfortable about coming out to you.
I think at the base point of all of this, I mean, safe to say is that I'm straight, he's gay, and we're totally normal, chill friends. Like, well, okay, we're not normal, but we're very equal and whatever. There's nothing wrong with me being straight or him being gay.
Yes.
And the core value is that loving people is honestly what I think the number one thing in life to strive for is that if you find, I mean, you find love. That's what we do. We get married because you love people. We need, as human beings, we have to have that intimacy and that connection. And if you find it with a girl, great. If you find it with a dude, great. Just find it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, loving is such a good thing, and that's what I think, you know, the world needs a lot more of, period. It doesn't need people oppressing people for whatever reasons. We just need to accept people and love people across the board.
All you need is love.
All you need is love, man. So true. Anyways, this has been a long video, the longest deep chat video I have ever made, by far. But I think it's important. I think it's a really good thing for this time period, and for people to, you know, be able to see and understand, and for those that aren't comfortable with their sexual preference or aren't sure, to be able to get that perspective, to see a gay and a straight person interacting normally, because it is normal. There's nothing wrong. And so if anybody is feeling this way, if anybody is in the closet and is wondering about it, please hope you heard what Harrison said, and like accept that it is totally okay, and that honestly, especially today, I feel like a lot of the worries that you're going to have aren't going to be relevant anymore, because I think that most people are going to accept you.
Yeah.
I really do. I really believe that. If you guys had any questions or comments or anything, please be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. Harrison and I have already talked. We would love to make a response video to any personal questions that you guys have,
Yes.
Be it being about straight things, about gay things, about anything in the world, honestly. Atheism, Christianity. So that's the other thing, is that, you know, we both were raised SDA. We both are not SDA now, but he is an atheist. I am still a Christian. And so we're definitely going to be doing a video on that soon. Yes. But if you guys have any questions of any kind, we're more than happy to talk about them openly, because that's what these deep chat videos are for. It's just talk with you guys and interact and I guess just kind of get real with serious topics, you know what I mean? And make serious topics seem like they're okay in the end, I guess. But yeah, anything else that you have to add to this?
Nope. Bye.
Bye. With that said, stay beautiful, have a fantastic freaking day, and we will see you later.